oysters at all. A line of divers tugged on rope on Omar's Big Dive. By Lucinda H. Kennelly, 2017. Lucinda H. Kennelly has written for Highlights. In this short story, a boy goes on his first dive for pearls in the Arabian Gulf. As you read, take notes on how Omar feels about his first dive. What if I'm bitten by a shark or stung by a jellyfish? What if my Sibie doesn't feel me tug the rope when I'm ready to come up for air? Sibes have the job of pulling divers from the bottom of the sea. I stood beside the thick ropes that circled the down deck. High on the boat, the ship's musician sang of a safe, successful voyage, with many pearls found. Each pearl diving season, Father had borrowed money from the captain to care for our family. When Father died, I inherited his debt, and to repay it, I needed to make more money than I used to make as an errand boy. So now I would dive for pearls. But what if I couldn't find any pearl oysters at all? A line of divers tugged on ropes that snaked from the ship into the sea. A basket exploded out of the water, with Nasser, one of the divers, gripped to its rim. His nose plug fell to his chest. He grabbed the side of the boat as his Sibie emptied a shell-stuffed basket onto the deck. "Get me some tea, Omar," Nasser said to me as he took big gulps of air. I knew he was teasing. He'd been my father's good friend. "Of course I will get your tea," I said. "But you know I'm a diver. Like my father." Father was lean and brown with strong shoulders and a powerful chest. He could hold his breath for more than 2 minutes underwater. "Your father was bald and deaf, like the rest of us." Nasser laughed. The salty Arabian Gulf produced the finest pearls in the world, but the gritty water peeled the hair off divers' heads. The pressure from falling and rising fast destroyed divers' hearing. I rubbed my smooth head, pre-shaved to save the sea the trouble. "I've dived the shallows," I said. "I can hold my breath for a whole minute. The sea here is deep." Nasser climbed over the ship's railing. "Pull your rope before your chest catches fire." He plugged his nose and disappeared into the water. Fire? The moist air stretched my lungs as I breathed. In, out, in, out, in, out. Time to dive. I slung an empty basket around my neck and looped my foot through the rope attached to a heavy stone. I took one more deep breath, plugged my nose, released the knot that held the stone to the ship, and jumped. The stone shot through the water like a spear. Salt burned my skin and eyes. A band of pressure tightened around my head. My stomach flipped. I crossed my arms and straightened my back. The stone thunked into the seabed. I freed my foot from the rope and blinked. Sparks flashed before my eyes and a drum pounded in my head. Waves of light shimmered at the surface above, but here, far below, the world was foggy blue. Fish played hide and seek among the plants that danced along the rocky ridge. Light glittered in the murky depths. Jellyfish, maybe? Leather gloves protected my fingers from the rough coral. I scratched at the rocky ridge, and 3 oysters dropped into my hands. Were there pearls inside? The sea swirled as Nasser dug in the oyster bed nearby. I scooped sand, rocks, and plants into my basket, hoping for shells in the mix. My lungs burned. Fire in my chest. I gripped the basket's rim and tugged the rope. I jolted forward and up. I knew that, far above, the Sibie's strong arms strained to pull me toward the surface, into the air in the blazing Arabian sun. Water tumbled over me. The band around my head tightened. Flames smoldered in my chest. Don't breathe yet. Just when I thought my lungs would burst, my ears popped and there was light. I reached for the dowel, yanked the plug from my nose, and took deep breaths. I watched as the Sibie emptied plants, sand, rocks, and shells, onto the deck from my basket. In, out, in, out, in, out. Moist air filled my lungs. Nasser burst through the water. He removed his nose plug and grinned at me. Not bad for an errand boy. I wrapped the empty basket around my neck and inserted my foot into the rope's loop. The sun roasted the salty wetness into powder on my skin. Light glittered on the pile of shells heaped on the dow's deck. I raised my chin. I'm a pearl diver.